Darkness on the Edge of Town paranormal radio show. I'm your host, Dave Schrader, sitting across the board from me, Mr. Tim Dennis. We want to thank you guys for joining us here each weekend. We're here every Saturday and Sunday night, 9 p.m. to midnight. Love to have you spend your time with us, and we're going to get some great guests throughout the year here, and we're always open for new guest and tip ideas as well. As a matter of fact, our guests tonight, we got as a tip as well, right here in Minnesota. Our first guest that we're going to talk to is Marlene Woelm, and she is a lady here that lives in Minnesota and has written a book. The book is fascinating. I got a chance to pick it up, was going through it. It's called The Ghosts on 87th Lane, A True Story. And the background on this is that, I guess, beginning back in 1968 and then spanning 4 decades, this book actually chronicles all these hair-raising experiences that nearly drove this family out of their home and to the breaking point. And I love that she mentions, not every haunted house is an old Victorian mansion. This is a really intriguing story. It takes place right here in our hometown, so we wanted to bring her on the show and spend some time with her this evening. So please help me welcome to the Darkness on the Edge of Town, Marlene Woelm. Good evening.
Good evening.
Thank you very much for joining us here this evening. I appreciate
thank you for having me.
Now, a great book. I first of all, I want to tell people, definitely pick it up. We're going to have a link here on our site, so you guys can check it out at darknessradio.com and pick up a copy from Amazon.com or any of the other booksellers out there. But it's a really, really well-done book. And, you definitely got my, what little hair I have left on my head was standing up on a few different points. So let's talk a little bit about this. Now, this started for you in 1968, you said, with the
Correct.
book, right? But let's go back a little bit further, because I know you've had your own personal paranormal experiences since you were a little girl, correct?
Yes, I have.
And how old were you when you started to have experiences? And by experiences, explain it to us. Are you psychic? Do you see, hear?
I don't know. I think everybody is a little bit. But I think the first time I ever had any psychic or any paranormal experiences, I was 3 years old. And the funny thing is, I didn't realize that's what it was until, decades later when I thought back on it. And it took place in my home in Foley, Minnesota. It was a house my parents were renting. And I had just recently lost a brother, and I kind of was by myself. Of course, he was my older brother, so I kind of had to entertain myself. I used to go up in the attic of this house and just to play.
Okay.
And up there, I actually met, I have to use the word met, 3 people, a mom, a teenage boy, and a baby. And the funny thing is, when I think back on it, at 3 years old, I didn't know what a teenager was.
Right.
But I was told he was a teenager. Their names were, I forgot. It was Mrs. Witch.
Okay.
So their last name was Witch, which is another funny thing because I had no idea what a witch was.
Right.
And I used to go up there and play every day, and I would talk with these people. I don't know what we said. Of course, that's 60-some years ago, but I would talk with them, and I started bringing food up for them even. Now, this was during the Second World War, and we had rationing stamps.
Right.
So you only got so much food,
Right.
My mom used to get just furious when she'd find me bringing food up there, and she said, "Who are you bringing that up there for?" And I remember I would just say, "My friends." Well, she put a stop to that in a hurry. But that was my first.
Marlene, did they ask you for the food? Or were you just being a gracious hostess and bringing them something because you were hungry?
I don't remember.
Okay.
I don't remember. I just know that I used to bring stuff up there.
Yeah, it's just interesting because a lot of the people that we have had on that shared their personal experiences, like Heidi Wyrick out of Georgia, who was haunted by this old gentleman, and she was notorious for going down and asking for sandwiches for this gentleman as well, and she'd bring lunch up for not only her, but for this her friend, her ghost friend.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and we've heard other stories like that too, where the children are asking for food for the ghost. And I often thought, well, are the people asking for it? I never thought to ask that before. Are the spirits asking for the food, or is it just something that you were doing out of courtesy? But you don't have any
I wasn't old
recollection.
enough to remember that, and I didn't ask for the food. I just took it.
Now, did they look to you? Were they like Casper? Were they clear, see-through ghosts? Were they solid as mom and dad? What exactly did you remember from
Well, I remember
witnessing
the
them?
clothes they wore, so they must have been very much like regular people.
Okay.
Because the mom had a hat, just like my mom's.
Right.
And she had a cloth coat. It was kind of grayish or brown. And the baby was wrapped up in a blanket. And the teenage boy had on a hat and kind of a waistcoat type thing. And then he had on these knee breeches things.
Sure.
That I didn't even know what they were. I didn't even realize it till, like I say, many years later.
So is this more like turn of the century style clothing that they were wearing?
I don't know, because the mom wouldn't have looked like it was a real early style. The boy probably looked like the 30s. Yeah, you're right. Probably 30s, 40s. Well, of course, it was the 40s.
Right.
How soon we forget.
Exactly. Now, did you ever find yourself frightened by them, or it was just a natural part? They were just the people that lived in the attic?
No, I was never frightened by them.
Really? And they
didn't have enough sense to be frightened by
Now, when you saw them, would you only see them, or did you actually carry on conversations with them as well?
I used to talk to them. They must have talked back. I don't remember, but I remember I used to talk to them because I'd always go up and play with them, and I know there weren't any real people up there.
Right.
It's a funny feeling now when I think back on it. I've always wanted to go back to my hometown and see if I could find an abstract or something on that house.
Really? No doubt.
To see if there was a family that lived there, and the mom, dad, or the mom and the child and the kid, the teenager, maybe died of diphtheria or something, that kind of stuff.
I'd just be more interested to see if the house is still standing, if the current residents...
it is.
Have you ever thought to ask if the current residents have ever had any experiences up there?
I should go up and ask them.
Well, that'd be great. You know what I'd love to do? Maybe we could arrange sometime, Marlene, as we'll go up there. Since that's what I do as paranormal investigate as well when we're not on the air. I'd love to go with you just to hear from them what's happened, and maybe even if they'd allow you up into the attic, just kind of be there to film and see if anything occurs when you come back home again, and see if they're the spirits remember you.
I'm sure that it's probably been fixed up into a living space now, Yeah,
but that's notorious for, as you know, irritating ghosts too when you start changing things. So yeah, I'm just curious what their stories would be on that.
Right. I don't know. I think it'd be also interesting to find out how many people have lived there.
Right.
See, we just rented, so I don't know if, how many times the house has gone through people,
Right, exactly. So that was your first, what's
my
interesting is I was about 3 years old when I had my first experience as well.
Oh, really?
And I had my grandmother's spirit came back to visit me. I was not cognizant of the whole life-death thing. I just knew she wasn't there. She was supposed to be in heaven. But she came down and visited and read me a story and talked to me for a little bit. And, I was just very nonchalant when I told my mom about it. I have no actual recollection or memory. I just have the memories of the stories that have been passed down to me since I was a little kid about when my grandmother came to visit. Mm-hmm. So, it's funny that seems to be the key age for a lot of people is around 3 or 4 years old when they start to notice that. And again, it's because, as we know, a lot of us tune it out. Parents say there are no such things as ghosts, so we stop seeing what is always there. So, going forward, how long did you live in that house, and how long were they always there as long as you lived there?
Oh.
Or did they start to fade after a while?
I had a baby brother not too long after that, so let's see, he was born in December of 44. And I think after that I probably wasn't up there so much. I was probably downstairs. It wasn't like an attic. It's not like you'd think of as an attic. It was just an upstairs of the house. We just lived on the ground floor. And I would imagine that's probably when I just never probably went back up there very much. Because I only remember him from a short time.
And you don't have any memory of them leaving that attic space or that upstairs area? They never showed up in your room to see you?
No, they always sat against the wall. They all sat, the mom and the boy together, and the mom was holding the baby, and they always sat. Actually, I could point out the wall. It's just I could still see them in my mind.
It's almost heartbreaking to hear that, right? That they were just there, and that was kind of their eternity.
I know. And ever since I started reading Echo Bodine's books and about people that send spirits to the light, I always think about that. I think how sad these people sat there and sat there and sat. They never got up. They never moved around.
Oh, they just sat there even when you went up to talk to them and play?
Yeah, they just sat there.
Wow. Huh. That is interesting.
They didn't even talk to me. They probably thought, oh, this little flibberty gibbet.
Well, yeah, that's interesting. Well, you said, though, you remembered but they would definitely notice that you were there. Could you see that they saw you, or do you think it might have been what's known as a residual haunting, where the spirits were just there?
Oh, my God, I never even thought about that.
Yeah, I wonder if they were just up there reliving a scene in time, and you were, seeing them. But they had no cognizant memory of you being there.
That could be.
Interesting.
Yep, because I know there are residual hauntings. And
right.
Oh, that's an amazing way to look at that. I never ever looked at it like that.
Well, off air, let's talk again, and let's check out. And maybe we can, even get the current homeowners to come on the show and talk to us a little bit and see if they've ever had any experience. And maybe they'll know how many people have owned the house in the last 40, 50 years here. We should do a little research. I'll put a couple of my historians on it and see if we can't pull up some information for you and maybe even get you...
You'll probably think I'm nuts.
Oh, no. Marlene, this is a brand new age. I don't know if you know that. People are into ghosts now.
Yeah, they are.
So,
and thank God.
Yeah, no doubt. That's we'd be out of a job, right, Tim, if we didn't have people believing in ghosts.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so... well, we're going to talk more... We're going to talk more with you about your book. It's a great book. Again, everybody check it out. It's called The Ghosts on 87th Lane, a true story. It's written by Marlene Woelm, Woelm, and you can find that book in all popular booksellers and on Amazon.com. We're going to take a break. We're going to come back. We're going to talk a little bit more. And remember to check out our website. Join us in our live chat. Go to darknessradio.com. On the left side of the screen, you'll see the live chat. Join us in there, and that way you can be a part of the crowd, talk about your paranormal experiences, and share with others during the show your related paranormal experiences. You're listening to Darkness Radio. Welcome back to the Darkness on the Edge of Town Paranormal Radio Show. Thanks for joining us here. And remember, as I said before we went to the break, we have a live chat room. You can join us by going to darknessradio.com. Left side of the screen, click on live chat. Come on in and talk with us. There's usually anywhere between 30 to 50 different people in there talking about their paranormal experiences and sharing the show. So hopefully you'll join us there. Also, if you have show ideas and tips and guests that you'd like us to speak to, you can also write to Dave@darknessradio.com or Tim@darknessradio.com and share your tips and hints for other guests that you'd like to hear on the show. We'll cover every aspect of the paranormal: ghosts, UFOs, Bigfoot, the Bermuda Triangle, and beyond. Stay tuned for the third hour of the show. We'll be back at 11 with author Annie Wilder is going to join us talking about her book, The House of Spirits and Whispers. We covered this book almost 3 years ago when it first came out, and we're going to talk a little bit about it again and talk about more of the hauntings that have occurred since then. But right now our guest is Marlene Woelm, and she's written a book called The Ghosts on 87th Lane, a true story. We were just talking to Marlene about her life growing up and her first recollections of dealing with spirits. Now, have you gone to other locations where you see spirits as well, Marlene, or is this something that, you just, are they everywhere to you, or are they only in specific places?
I'm not one of these people that see them every place they go. I have had experiences in one of my daughter's homes, actually two of my daughter's places, and, oh gosh, as far as creepy feeling type things, I've had those all over the place. I've had a strange experience in a bathroom in England, in London.
Okay.
And, oh yeah.
Well, tell us about that. I love when bathroom stories happen. That's the weird stuff. What were you doing there? Well, I mean, don't tell me what you were doing, but what was the ghost doing?
Actually, we were in England on vacation, and I booked us on a ghost tour, which my husband just despised. I know he did. And anyway, we went to different locations, and we stopped at this one pub, and it was, it was during the Jack the Ripper type portion of the tour.
Sure.
And we stopped there for a drink.
Okay.
And I had to go to the bathroom in the worst way. I mean, absolutely the worst way.
Okay.
And we were the first ones on the bus, and so we were the last ones off this huge tour bus.
Okay.
So we went into the little pub, and there was this huge line in the ladies' room, just huge. And I thought, oh my God, I'm going to die before I get in there. And finally, when it was when we were all standing out there chit-chatting, we were saying, oh, I wonder if this pub is haunted and blah, blah, blah. I wonder why we stopped here, you know. Which the tour guide would do. She would take you to a place and then tell you about it. She wouldn't say, we're going to see this or that. So anyway, when it was my turn to get in there were two ladies in there just kind of washing their hands and getting ready to leave. And so I was in there by myself, and I went into my stall and I locked the door, you know, little sliding lock, you know, click, click. Mm-hmm. And I turned around to put my purse someplace, and I heard it go click. And I thought, oh, that's weird.
Right.
You know, and I started getting this feeling like I was going to smother, you know, just a real suffocating feeling. So I quickly did my business and left and washed my hands in cold water and barely dried them. I dried them kind of on my sweater on the way out the door. Well, after we, you know, I didn't say anything. We all sat around and we had our little glass of wine and beer and whatnot. And when we got back on the bus, this woman says, I hope none of you ladies use the restroom. And I just went, oh, my God. And then she went on to tell us that restroom is haunted. And that years back, maybe like 5 years or something before that, they had instances where the doors would literally fly open when a woman was sitting on the toilet. And flush walls, you know, the whole thing. And this is before they have the automatic flushes, which is another story.
Right.
Kind of scary, too. But anyway, the guy had, the publican had different people out to see if they could figure out what was going on. And nobody ever could find anything. There were no underground river, or not rivers, but, you know, water, which sometimes causes this type of thing. And they had, I don't know, people out to check the structure of the place and all kinds of stuff. And they finally just couldn't really figure out what it was, so they had a priest come out and bless it, and nobody had had any experiences since. And I'm sitting there dying to say, I did, but you couldn't at that point.
Right.
Because she just said it was haunted, and there you are. You're going to be a little glory hog in the back of the bus.
No, you got to share your stories. You know, it's funny how many places, and Tim, you can attest to this, we've been out to all these great haunted locations, and here we are at the Stanley Hotel in Estes Park, Colorado. It's the hotel that Stephen King stayed at, that he had his ghostly experiences at, that caused him to write The Shining. And the ladies' bathroom downstairs in the main lobby is crazy haunted. People will go in there, they'll go in there, and women will be sitting there, you know, doing what they need to do, and they'll hear voices right behind them.
Oh, gosh.
Right. Well, as I always joke around, at least you're in the right place to get it scared out of you, right?
That's right.
So it's you're right there. But we've heard all these strange bathroom ghosts, and you know, one story, and I don't know, I don't even think I've ever mentioned this to Tim. When I was first going to college, where I met Tim 20 years ago, we had I was on my way up to college. I was having car trouble. I kept overheating, so I had to pull over like about every 75 to 100 miles, and I had to go to the bathroom really bad, and I pulled over into the seedy little rest stop, and it was one of those off by the side of the road, right outside of. It's right in Wisconsin before you get into Minnesota. There was nobody there. I pulled into the parking lot. I ran into the restroom and sat down, and I heard the door open, and then I could hear footsteps coming. And, I'm like, God, I'm here all alone in the middle of nowhere. Right. This is before the advent of cell phones, so nobody knew how to get in touch with me. So I'm sitting there, and sure as hell, I could see the shadow come underneath the door. So somebody was standing right in front of the door. And then I'm like, occupied. And nothing, no noise.
Candygram.
Yeah, Candygram, occupied. And the shuffling goes away for a few seconds, but I never hear the door shut. And I'm like, oh, crap. I'm going to have to fight somebody,
That's right.
And I look down, and I'm looking at the floor, and I'm just trying to figure out what my next move is going to be. Besides wiping, what is my next move? And I look back up, and there's an eye peering through the crack in the door.
Oh, my gosh.
So I gave it a kick as hard as I could. Bam! And the door flung open, but it didn't hit anything. And I'm like, well, what the hell? So now I'm in the most prone position in my life, and I'm wondering, why the hell did you just kick the door open? At least you had that buffer zone to get up. And so I get up, I address myself real quick. I look around the door, and I got my fists ready to go, and there's nobody in the bathroom with me. So I scattered out to the parking lot real quick, and this was the other really strange thing. Here, I'd blown some weird gasket on my car, And I get out there, and there's water all underneath my car now. And I'm like, son of a gun. And up pulls this guy. And out of nowhere, just pulls up in a truck and gets out of the car. He goes, hey, you having some trouble? I said, yeah, my car's been overheating. I got this. He pops my hood, looks in there, and he goes, oh, that's really weird. He goes, this, you blew this little rubber cap, this little gaskety thing. And he goes, you know what, though? I think I have one. And I go, oh, great. So he goes into his car, comes out, gets this little gasket, sticks it on there. This little, I call it a gasket, but it's more like a little, it's like a little rubber straw hood, if you will, to put over this thing. He pipes it back up. He looks at me and he goes, well, you just do me a favor and remember when somebody else needs your help, you help them. And I said, well, yeah, I said, can I pay you for this? And he goes, no, just do me the favor and make sure that somebody else gets help too. And I said, all right, we'll do. And he drove off, and I never got his name. Don't know anything about the guy. Didn't know anything. And it wasn't like he was stopping to go to the bathroom. He stopped to check on my car, help me fix this little valve, and then I was on my way. So I don't know if something creepy was in there stalking and this was my guardian angel or not, but that was, I digress. We're back into your story. But yeah, that's one of the few, I've never really shared that story because it freaked me out. I still to this day won't stop at a rest stop because it's weird, I
probably never will again.
I just ruined rest stops for a lot of people. But now, in the 2008, you got to be careful when you go into these rest stops anyway, because it's, you get George Michael showing up, Tim, and
it's a little bit.
To get
Well, you got to have faith, Dave. You got to have faith.
Yes, I do. Well, Marlene, we're going to get back in. I'm going to shut up with my stories because you're the reason we have the show going tonight. We want to talk about your book, The Ghosts on 87th Lane, A True Story, and our author is Marlene Woelm. She's with us this evening. Again, check our website. We have a link up for the book, so you can actually click it and take you out to order one from Amazon.com. We're going to come back with more. Stay tuned. You're listening to the Darkness on the Edge of Town Paranormal Radio Show. Welcome back to the show. This is your new home for Paranormal Talk Radio. It's the only home for true Paranormal Talk Radio in the Twin Cities. You're listening to Darkness on the Edge of Town Paranormal Radio. We're here with you every Saturday and Sunday night, 9 p.m. to midnight. If you can't listen to the shows live or you miss an episode, don't worry. Go check out our website at ktlkfm.com. Click on the Darkness Radio link, and you'll be able to see our podcast page. You can download all of our past episodes. You can hear all of them. If you'd like to go back even further, go to darknessradio.com, click on our archives button, and we have the last 2.5 years of shows downloaded and archived right on our site, so you can join us there. Also, I want to remind you that we have a great Halloween party coming up here at the Palmer House in Sauk Center, Minnesota, that's going to be taking place on Halloween night. We have tickets available. You can go to our website to sign up and get your tickets. Come on out, have some fun with us. Going to be a blast. So check out our website, darknessevents.com, our first annual Darkness Radio paranormal fun party. So hopefully you'll come on out and join us. And we are going to do some ghost hunting that night with the people that stay at the hotel. Just going to be a great time. So I hope that you will join us and check that out. And also check out our events page, because we've got the Ghost Adventures crew, guys. We're going out to Rolling Hills Haunted Sanitarium. That takes place in November, and that's the 13th through the 16th. We're going to go out with the Ghost Adventures guys, and Zach, Nick, and Aaron. We're going to investigate Rolling Hills along with Mark and Debbie Constantino, the EVP specialists we had on last week's show that showed all those amazing, creepy EVPs. Again, that's electronic voice phenomena, disembodied ghost voices that have been caught on tape. We also have Archbishop James Long, who is a demonologist and an exorcist, is going to be on hand. He's going to talk to us about the darker side of the paranormal. Stacy Jones, the ghost cop. Bill Chappell from digitaldowsing.com. He is one of the most innovative minds in the paranormal field right now, creating all types of brand new equipment. And I recommend check out his website, digitaldowsing.com. He has some of the best stuff out there, and he is cutting edge. So, again, hopefully you'll check that out. We're going to go back into tonight's show. Right now we have on the line with us Marlene Woelm, and she is a Minnesota resident. She's written a book called The Ghosts on 87th Lane, A True Story. Beforehand, we were talking about scary bathroom experiences. And, the one thing now, I've talked to a lot of experts, Marlene, and they say that, if you kind of set boundaries and guidelines in your home with spirits, they do seem to respect it. So I've always said, be in any part of my house, just leave my kids alone and don't mess with me in the bathroom. Those are the only two places I want to be left alone to do what I have to do. So, I certainly don't want to mess in with my kids. Now, let's move forward a little bit more. Now, you've had all these experiences, and you moved into this house. What did you say? It was 1968?
Right.
Okay. And how soon after moving into this house did you start to have experiences yourself?
Oh, that night.
Oh, really? So straight out of the chute. What was your first experience in the home?
Well, we'd put our two kids upstairs. It's a huge, it's a two-bedroom expansion, so it's like a one big room upstairs. And we put the two kids up there. They were 5 and 3 years old at the time. And we took a bedroom downstairs. And when we got ready to go to bed, we were exhausted because we'd been moving all day. And just before we fell asleep, we started hearing boxes being shoved around on the floor upstairs, and stuff kind of bump, and shove, and scratch kind of noises. And my husband kind of got mad. When he gets really tired, he gets cranky. He said, "What the heck are those kids doing up there?" And I said, I'll go up and see, and I went running up the stairs, which was scary because the stairs were pitch black. We had no light there. And I went all the way to the back of the room where their little night light was, and they were sound asleep. And a lot of times kids can play possum. So I kind of did my mama face test, and I got my face down like right about a half an inch away from my daughter. And she didn't, she just kept sleeping. So I knew she hadn't done it. And my son was in a crib at that time yet. So I knew he hadn't gotten out and done it. So I went back downstairs and just no more than got back in bed, and they started up again. And my husband kind of got, he says, "Good God, what is going on?" I says, I'll go up and see. I didn't see anything up there before. So I went up again. Long story short, I went up 3 times that night, and they were asleep all 3 times. And it was just like the minute I got back downstairs, it started in. So
now, would any boxes have actually been moved, or just sounded like it?
No, because there were no boxes up there.
Interesting.
I mean, the box where we heard the noises, it was where the actual room was. It wasn't like where the crawl spaces were along the side of the house.
Right.
So there were no boxes up there. So the third time I came down and I said, "There are no boxes up there." And he was snoring by that time. So. Right. But they kept, yeah, right. But they kept on going till I fell asleep.
Wow. So that just
we got put on notice right away.
Now, were your kids being bothered at all from the spirits? Would they be woken up in the middle of the night? No.
Chris said she woke up one night and she saw a little boy, little boy, standing over by her dresser looking at her. And she told me about it the next day, and I said, I'm going, "Oh my God." And I said, "Well, what was he doing?" "Well, he was just staring at me." And that's in my book, our little exchange there, and, back and forth. And I did not let on that I was frightened. And I just said, "Will you tell me if you ever see him again?" And she said, "Okay." And that was the end of that. And, oh gosh, there was a time when my daughter was scared. And I'm not sure why she was really scared by this, because she didn't seem to be scared when she was being stared at. But we moved the kids downstairs the first winter because it was very cold up there. And we had put one kid in the room that was a playroom, the other kid in the room that my husband and I had. And this one morning, it was school time, and this one morning I got up to get her off to kindergarten, and she was sitting in her room crying. And I couldn't figure out why, and she wouldn't tell me. The next day it was the same thing. The third day, on Wednesday that week, my son was standing in the hallway with her, and they were staring in the living room. I said, "What is going on?" And then that's when they told me that our rocking chair rocked every morning, and it quit when I started coming down the stairs. And Thursday, or maybe that was Thursday. Yeah, it was Thursday, because that day I said, "Okay, tomorrow morning I'll get up early. I'll come down and I'll see what's doing it." You know how you talk to little kids.
Right.
And which I did. And they were both standing in the hallway looking in the living room, and I said, What's going on?" And my son, who is just a very pragmatic little boy, he said, "Well, you can't fool it, Mama." He said it stopped the minute you started down the steps.
Wow.
And I don't know what that was. I mean, we figure it was the little boy ghost that was here. I figured later, but at that time I didn't know what it was.
Now, have you done research on this house? Do you know of what caused the actions that were going on?
My neighbor next door, I finally got a chance to talk with this lady.
Sure.
And just out of total fear, because my husband worked nights. And so every day when he left for work, stuff started in. And I finally one afternoon, I went over and started talking to her, and she told me a whole bunch of stuff about the house. And I know she wasn't kidding. You know how some people like to scare you?
Right.
She wasn't kidding because her eyes were big as saucers. When she was visibly scared by this house. She would not come in this house.
Wow.
She would not come in because she told me she was afraid the spirit of this little boy would follow her home because she knew him.
Oh, she did?
Oh, yeah. They were great friends with the people that lived in this house. And so she would never come over here.
Did she tell you about the ghost child before you told her that you thought it was a little ghost child?
No, she told me that it was a little ghost. She said it was probably this little Johnny. And because I didn't know what was doing this stuff.
Right.
You know. And I didn't talk to any neighbors. I just sat in the house.
Right.
You know, I was scared because I wasn't sleeping, and you know, when there's a new family on the block and you see them every once in a while and the mother looks haggard.
Right.
You know, chain smoking and all this kind of stuff, you kind of think, oh my God, what moved in there, you know?
Right.
So I just kind of kept to myself all the time. And so she and I became really good friends.
Now, you go through this activity. When did it start to turn scarier for you?
Pardon?
When did it start to turn scary for you? How long into it before you actually, I mean, aside from just, it's unnerving, when did it become...
Scary. Okay. It was very, very intense for the first 10 years. Not intense every night, but it was, intense is probably too strong a word. It was very constant the first 10 years. And one night I was writing some letters to some friends, and I was sitting in the kitchen, and my kitchen door that led to the back, to the basement and to the outside was open about 2 inches, and I heard some scratching there. And that scared me because I thought, oh my gosh, there's a squirrel or something in here, you know, and right away you think about biting your kids. And so I kicked the door shut. I was just like scared to death and just kicked it shut. And I held my foot on it even. And then it stopped, and I thought, okay, good. That's good. And then about, very shortly, I'm going to say within a few minutes later, I heard some sniffing coming down the upstairs steps. Now, we always left that door open so the kids, we could hear the kids at night.
Right. And
so here, I hear this kind of stuff coming down the steps. And I thought, oh, my daughter got up. And my kids never.
So it sounded like a human sniffing, not like a dog or an animal?
No, it sounded like somebody that had a runny nose.
Okay.
And my daughter had a kind of a tick when she was that age. She sniffed a lot when she was that age, and she did that for a couple of years. Well, I thought it was her, so I'm sitting at the table writing, and I said, Chrissy, what's the matter? Are you sick, Chrissy? No answer. And I asked her 2 or 3 different questions, and I said, are you okay? And I'm running over to the doorway because I thought, oh my gosh, something's very wrong. She's not answering me. And I looked up the stairs real quick, and there was nothing there.
Weird.
And that scared me.
That's when it starts getting weird. Well, let's take our break here, our final break of the hour. You're listening to the Darkness on the Edge of Town Paranormal Radio Show with our guest, Marlene Woelm. We're talking about her book, The Ghosts on 87th Lane. We'll be back with more. And welcome back to the show. This is Dave Schrader, your host on Darkness Radio. We are your paranormal home for talk radio. This evening, we're speaking to Marlene Woelm about her book, The Ghosts on 87th Lane, A True Story. And now, are you able to tell us what city this was located in? Or is that something you prefer
Blaine.
to... Okay, Blaine. See, now, I actually lived in Blaine, right near you, I believe. Yeah, for quite a while. So it was. It's funny that you... When I read the cover of the book, I'm like, oh, I know where this is.
Oh, isn't that funny?
Yeah, so I was... I lived off, I think it was 93rd Curve. So,
No kidding.
Yeah, not too far from me. So little did I know that you guys were being haunted out that way as well, huh? So now let's talk a little bit more about some of the stories. We have about 9 minutes left on the show, and I'm sure people are interested. And again, if you're interested, check out the book. It's phenomenal. It's called The Ghosts on 87th Lane. It's written by Marlene Woelm, M.L. and then last name Woelm is the author. Woelm. You can check it out on Amazon, or you can check out our link right on our website. Pick it up. It's a fantastic book. What did you start to do with the research? Now, how did this little boy die in the house?
He didn't die in the house. I was told that he died downtown in the hospital of a bowel obstruction. Oh. However, the weird part about it, now this is my neighbor telling me this, and we can't talk to her now. Well, maybe we could, but actually she's deceased now. So
that doesn't stop us on this show, Marlene.
I know, I just thought of that. But anyway, she said that the mom that lived here, wished him back.
Oh.
For 3 solid days, apparently. She locked herself upstairs and did nothing but wish him back. And when she told me that, I said, oh my God, was she nuts?
Right.
You know? But anyway, he apparently came back. Which I think is just amazing. I didn't think that would ever work.
Now, was this the only ghost that you had in the house?
At that time, I think, yes. But after, he was apparently taken over the other side in 78. See, I had Echo Bodine out here.
Okay.
And her spirit guide is the one that told me that he was taken to the other side by, I don't know, some other spirits. But after that, we had what she called drop-ins.
Oh, sure. They see the light, they know that you're believers, or that you're easy to communicate with. Right.
Exactly. And they would just sort of show up. And so I've had that go on ever since.
Now, has that been something that continues to be a problem? Do these drop-ins, have you ever had a malevolent spirit stop by and mess with your world a little bit?
No, not really. I had one terrible experience before 1978, though, and I don't think this was the little boy. But I woke up one morning with 4 long scratches across my throat. 2 were deep enough to bleed.
Wow.
After I got my kids to school, I called the clinic, and, they said, you better come in for a tetanus shot. So I went in there. They couldn't figure out what would have done that. I had no idea what could have done it because, I kind of did, but I couldn't tell them.
The skeptic in me now, and I know our listeners are asking the same thing, is, we move in our sleep. Are you sure you didn't have a little itch and maybe you just dug a little too hard with your nails?
No, because there was also one on my wrist. I used to sleep with my arm above my head, my wrist exposed.
Okay.
And no, I don't think I did that. I swear in front of God, I don't think I did that.
Sure.
I'm sure I didn't do that. But anyway, that scared me. That really did, because it seemed like the stuff kept escalating. First it was this, and it was this, and it was toys that are disappearing into another room, and that kind of thing.
Right.
And then this thing was the worst thing.
And now you were getting, you got the scratches, so now do you make sure that no part of you is exposed? You have the magic blankets you pull all the way up to your neck and make sure that you're safe now?
You laugh. I slept.
I'm not laughing at all.
I slept with a dish towel around my neck for 5 years.
A magic blessed dish towel?
A magic blessed dish towel.
Excellent. Very good. Those are really rare to find.
Well, it was just...
Tim, look for that on eBay for me.
Got it.
All right, thanks.
You what now?
I told Tim I want him to look on eBay for me for a nice magic blessed dish rag to protect myself with.
Well, never know when they come in handy.
That's right. The magical properties of blankets have been known to defeat the largest and most creepy of foes, right? I mean,
go.
They can come through the portals of time and hell, but they can't seem to get through my Lone Ranger, my Lone Ranger comforter.
Well, the funny thing is, too, I just didn't know. I had no knowledge of all these things back then.
Right.
So when I look back at back on it, I think, oh, boy, was I dumb. But I wasn't. I was struggling. I read books, what books I could find, and, you know, and you just couldn't talk about it to people.
Well, right now, thankfully, the top is torn off Pandora's box and everybody's able to come out.
Right.
You know, I said it was like, you know, at some point being a homosexual, you couldn't admit to it. Now it's like the paranormal community is out of the closet and everybody's talking about it now. You know, before you'd say something and you'd get that raised eyebrow like, oh, you're nuts. Even though in the back of their mind they were like, oh my God, I had that same thing happen when I was a kid.
Yeah, or gee, I hope it doesn't happen to me.
Yeah, exactly. Now, I got to ask you, you know, you knew you were having these experiences. When you called Echo Bodine in, what was that first experience like? Did you look at her like, oh, my God, are you nuts?
When I met her? Or what did you say?
Yeah, when you brought, you know, when you had somebody come in to help cross this little boy over, and you involved yourself.
He wasn't here when she came.
Okay, but when you have somebody come in that even though you know what you know and you have these experiences, see, I have problems with that. You know, all of a sudden I'll run into these people, and nothing against Echo. I'm just saying overall, you know, especially in a time when it wasn't as accepted, when you meet somebody who claims they can help spirits cross over and that they can see this, even though you know they're ghosts, you've dealt with them your whole life, did it kind of cause you to arch your eyebrow and be like, well, okay, Echo, you can see ghosts and help them cross over? Well, that's interesting.
Oh, I totally believed it because I'd seen her on TV. I'd seen her do cleansings. I actually had read a couple of her books by that time.
Yeah, but on TV, I've watched Kirk and Spock beam up to the Enterprise, and we still can't do that. So just because it's on TV, Marlene.
But this, I think she was out, I can't remember now. She was out here in 95 or 96. I mean, it was much later.
Right.
But she said he was gone.
That's good.
And then she just told me about the drop-ins. And they used to just do things like tap on the walls, drove me nuts. You know, no matter where I was sitting, there would be this tick, 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 tick on the walls, stuff like that. But nothing really scary with them.
Just more irritating, right? Right, just little flourishes. Well, Marlene, I appreciate you spending time with us here tonight, and it's been a pleasure. And, you know, we'd love to have you come out maybe at one of our local events here and do a book signing with your stuff and let people meet you and say hi. And
well, that would be fun.
Yeah, it's like I said, I recommend the book. It's a great book. It's called The Ghosts on 87th Lane. It's a true story written by Marlene Woelm, Woelm. We will have a link on our page at least for the next week or so for the book, so that way you can find it and pick up a copy for yourself. They're on Amazon.com. Great stories. I appreciate you spending some time with us here this evening.
I appreciate you having me.
And if you have anything new happen in your life, new drop-ins that are getting out of control, I'd love to have you let us know about that. And too, I'd like to talk to you off air. Let's talk about maybe checking out your old homestead and see if we can get some more information about, you know, maybe who was haunting it or if it's continued to go on for the people that are living there now.
Yeah, okay.
All right. Well, thank you, and thank all of you for tuning in to The Darkness on the Edge of Town. Stay tuned, because we're going to be back in a few minutes after the top of the hour with our next guest, author Annie Wilder, talking about her book, also takes place here in haunted Minnesota, her book, House of Spirits and Whispers. This is also another great book. We're going to talk to Annie Wilder right after this.